Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Alexander Richter. I'm a technical director for visual effects, animation and games. And today what we want to talk about is how to transition from being an artist to becoming a technical director. Let's play the intro. A common question that I get asked after the release of Avatar 2: The Way of Water is how can someone become a technical director, specifically when they're coming from an artistic role, because there is this kind of perception of having two separate lanes. Basically, you either an artist or you are an engineer. And that's actually what the position of technical directing is trying to combine them. A technical director is someone who knows the artist, who knows how to create art, and is someone who knows how to work with technical issues, who knows how to program and to solve technical problems, basically. The idea is of a technical director is someone who can communicate with the artist and can communicate with a developer, and best case can even do both. He can do the art and they can also do the software programming, the technical solution and the technical support. So how can you transition from being an artist on one side into something like a technical directing role, which is of course not specifically on the software development side, but is going there. So what is the way from there to here, basically? The first question that you have asked yourself is, what is the reason for you to transition? What is the motivation to change the role that you are currently in to become that? Some of you will maybe say, oh, it's about career. Some of you will say it's about opportunities. Some of you say it's something where I can earn more. I have maybe better working environments. I have a better and more interesting job. I have more flexibility and so on. So there's millions of reasons, but it's important to really define what is the reason for the transition, because it also mitigates where you should kind of tackle the pieces and where you should advance your skills in, because there are dozens of technical directing and technical artist jobs, and it's important to figure out which one suits you, because at the end of the day, there is no clear-cut line of what is exactly an artist or what is exactly a technical director. But there are differences, and some are more artistic and some are less artistic. And that's why it's important to really define what kind of work do you want to do and where does the technical directing perspective come into the place. What would be the first step? You are an artist, let's say a modeler or art director or something in that direction, and you want to become a technical director, maybe even a technical artist. So what would be the first step? And the first step is basically not being afraid of technical support, technical issues, or technical solutions. And I think that is the core fundamental of everything that drives away from the artistic role to the development role. Is you look at something like Maya, Houdini, 3ds Max, and you are not afraid to handle if something doesn't work right, to handle a problem using technical workflows, to handle a problem also using something like scripting, Python, MaxScript, and so on. And I think that is the core fundamental, and the first step is to allow yourself to work with technical environments, to work with technical solutions, and not just being, okay, I want this result, I want this picture, I want this level, game and character, and that's it. The important part of being a technical director is you want to go to a goal, but you're okay with the steps in between, and you try to figure out what is the best way to get there. What is the best workflow? What is the best solution? How do I work around problems and so on? And I think that mentality is super important. So you're not just laser focused on the result, on the picture, on the object that you want to create, but also focused on how to get there. What is the most efficient way to get there? And if necessary, learn new things like scripting, workflows, workarounds, and so on. And I think that is an important part of becoming someone technical. It's not only our goal focused in terms of the result of the end game or movie, but also workflow focused about how to get there, what's the most efficient way, what's the best way for the artist, for myself, for the team, and so on. I think that is the first way, not being afraid of technical problems and technical solutions, and also give yourself time to solve that. Not only focus on the lighting, on the shading, texture and model, but also focus on what can I do to improve it? What can I do to improve my workflow and so on? So there is an element of thinking about the meta around your work. And if you start to do that, I think then you get a feel more for how to work with technical environments and so on. I think that is the first step, is allowing technical solutions and problems being part of your day-to-day work. The next part would be to add technical skills. And of course, one of the most important technical skills is understanding of the software, of the plugin, of the environment you're working on. And it doesn't mean you only know where to press something, what number to put in, what to check, but also understand how it works. So for example, if you are a lighter, understand how ray tracing works. You don't have to know the mathematical background. It's nice, but it's not fundamentally important. But if you understand how ray tracing works, and then you have to find the best render settings for your scene, then you can look at it and say, oh, the anti-aliasing needs to be higher or lower, or I can change this with that. I can lower the anti-aliasing, but higher up the refraction or refraction elements. And that you can only do if you understand the fundamental physics in the rendering engine and how it works, so you can reverse engineer and basically understand, okay, if I understand how light, ray tracing and rendering works, I can not only solve problems like, for example, fireflies, if they appear, I can also create render environments as a lighter, for example, that run faster. So there is a faster iteration, there is a faster rendering at the end of the day, and there is a faster way of working, even during the work, everything is smoother because you understand that. And I think that is the second step, is basically understanding the fundamentals of your work, not only the artistic fundamentals, like what is realistic lighting in 3D compared to reality, but also how is it achieved in 3D to be that realistic. If I understand refraction exactly, I can look into the settings and solve the problems or create the illusion. And I don't always just create workarounds. I also create maybe realistic results, but with half the rendering time that I would need if I just crank up the numbers and hope that it will result in something decent. The next part, and I think you already know what's coming, is of course scripting. It is the creation of opportunity. It is the enhancing of the environment. And I think that is very important. And of course, Python, you know that already. I think we can already get the gospel out of that, is the way to go basically in visual effects, animation, and to some degree in games. And if you learn Python, you basically allow yourself to go above the software capabilities and sometimes kind of wrap around things and make things faster. And for example, you can create lighting setups. So for example, a preview setup, a review setup, and a final rendering setup. Sometimes, of course, there is a pipeline department or someone who can take care of that, but that's not always the case. So it's good if you can do it yourself. And sometimes maybe you need custom solutions for very specific scenes and situations, and that's always hard to get from a department. So it's good if you understand the basics to help yourself to modify the environment and maybe here and there create something that helps others. Learning something like scripting is also a way to free yourself to be too dependent from other departments and still being able to even help other departments. I think every pipeline TD is happy about well-created code that serves a specific department, because at the end of the day, there's so much to do, and it's sometimes really hard to figure out exactly what someone or some department needs. So if someone comes with a solution, with code, with a tool and application, and it's well made, it's easy to integrate, I think that's the best way. And I'm always happy if someone comes and says, hey Alex, I've made this light linking tool, for example, or this rendering tool. Is it possible to integrate for our department or somewhere else? And if I see the code is solid, it doesn't break every 5 seconds, and there is an element of care and support, I think that's also for me like, great, I can trust this department to solve their problems. I'm happy to help them if they need, but they only come to me when they really need my support and not like for every small thing. And that also creates a little bit of a connection with other departments, because you're not highly reliant on their support, because you're basically always a technical zero stand. And that's sometimes also not the best way to do so. So basically, learning things like scripting, like Python, opens up the possibilities and allows you to not only understand how the technical environment works, how to go through it and understand the technical steps that will improve that. It also allows you to summarize steps, to create new steps that weren't there, to find workflows and then make them a one-button, one-click solution. And that also is a very important thing, because it's good to find workarounds, but imagine your workaround because Maya crashes or the scene doesn't handle this specific amount of assets is something where you have to import, export, hide and delete elements. And that is like a 30 minutes per scene situation. Great, you find a workaround. So you are technically, you understand. You also understand the background, why it happens. You know, maybe there's a limitation in poly count or shading or something like that. So you have the first two steps, but now you always have this 30 minutes, you know, creation time where you lose time because you have to follow this workaround because it's probably the only viable way to finish this shots, basically. This adds, of course, a solution, but it's not a fast one, and it adds to the deadline and so on. So by adding this third part of scripting, of summarizing step, that is actually where you can shine, because now you find a workaround because you are okay with technical problems and technical solutions. You understand why the workaround is necessary and why it works, and there may be no other realistic options. And you find a way to summarize the workaround in an application, in a shell button, click a button to apply it instead of constantly applying and changing and getting frustrated and so on. So that is, I think, the main 3 steps. And of course, step number 4, and that summarizes everything, is you have to take the opportunity to work with technical problem solutions and all the things that we just talked about. That means to take risks and go out of your current job description to do things that you are maybe not super familiar with, that apply these 3 elements basically, to apply for jobs that transition slowly into that, to take tasks that go into that direction, to learn and educate yourself doing masterclasses. There are masterclasses, of course, for Python. You can find some on my website. You can look into general problem-solving skills and just tackle all the typical problems that you have, and even from your coworkers. Sometimes it's like a little bit like taking riddles. So everywhere around you are riddles. Some are more artistic, some are more technical. And if you look out for them, they will be there. And then you have to decide which one can you tackle already, which one you have to spend a little bit of time to get into, which one you should like put aside or ask someone for help. And that way you can step by step basically grow into that position. And you have to take the risk and take the task in your current job and also apply for situations or job positions that will open up this kind of environment. Because at the end of the day, having this 3 kind of skill sets or mindsets is important, but until you really work as a technical person doing technical solution, that's actually when it becomes fundamental. The most important thing in the whole technical environment is being practical, solving problems, and not just, oh, I know how to program. That's great, but do you know how to program to solve my technical issues for making this movie? Because if you can't, it doesn't really bring me something. So that is also the problem from a lot of people coming from university, maybe even being programmer. They know how to program in C++, C#, and they probably can learn Python very fast, but they don't understand most of the software 3D aspects and so on. So they struggle with the whole environment. They don't really understand the background of that, you know, not just only the software, but the background of ray tracing, shading, and so on. And they don't even understand how to apply this programming Python skills to the solution. So even if you understand that, you still need to combine that, and that needs the background. And that's why it's so important, even as a technical director, not just being a good programmer or good technical person is as important as being a good artist, because you can only provide a good solution, a good script, a good workflow, a good software, if you understand what exactly is the problem and what could be a solution that will help solve that problem, because a program that needs 10 steps to get there instead of program that does basically in most situations the one click, a few number solution, that is what you need. So to make a good technical director, you have to understand what is the needs of the artist that you support, what is the needs of the work that you do, even if you're doing artistic elements, and how can you solve them outside of the artistic spectrum so you can provide solutions that help to counterbalance the software problems, plugin problems, and demanding deadlines. Now that you know what to do, my first step would be to plan out how you can integrate being a technical kind of skilled person in your day-to-day life. Look at your day-to-day life. Are there opportunities? And also look out for them in the next few weeks. See the potential of you helping things, maybe educating yourself. And if you do that, I think important also is time. Don't overrush yourself of like, oh, going to YouTube, watching a few Python tutorials or technical Maya tutorials, and then like, I'm now a technical director, because that's not how it works. There's a lot of time involved, same as being an artist. There's a lot of time involved to become a good artist. And it's not just the skill thing, it's experience, it's understanding, it's deciding when to do things and when not to do things. So put some time in, make a transition, and that's important. It is a transition slowly. And also because it is a transition, it allows you to decide where to go, navigate all around, when to stop maybe, when to change course because you don't like this, but you like this, or maybe you want to go back because you maybe don't enjoy that much programming or problem solving, but you want to become more independent and still have the artistic element. So there is a lot of kind of benefits of taking it slow, taking it smart, having a clear goal, and just finding the right strategy for that. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you on the next video. Check out my website alexanderrichtertd.com if you're interested in more content like articles, masterclasses, and coaching opportunities to work successfully in the industry.